I never thought I'd be that girl. You know, the one who ditches her husband after getting a glow-up, only to come crawling back. But here I am, Caitlin, 33, staring at my phone for the 100th time today, waiting for Kevin to text me back. He won't. I know he won't because he hasn't replied to a single message in weeks. And honestly, I can't even blame him. It all started last year when I fell into this weird funk. My job was stressing me out, like wake up in the middle of the night, panicking kind of stress. Kevin, being the supportive husband he was, God, it hurts to use past tense, suggested I try working out to help with my mental health. He'd gone through something similar before we got married and said the gym saved him. At first, I was like, really? The gym? That's your solution? But I was desperate enough to try anything. We started going together. Kevin had been in decent shape for years. Not like those mega-muscled guys you see flexing for Instagram, but healthy, you know? I'd always been what my mom called curvy, which was her nice way of saying chubby. Kevin never seemed to mind. He always told me I was beautiful. And I believed him because he looked at me like I really was. The first few weeks at the gym were brutal. I felt like everyone was staring at me, judging the chunky girl, huffing and puffing on the treadmill. But Kevin was there, encouraging me, showing me how to use the machines without looking like a complete idiot. When his schedule got busier after his promotion, I started going alone. That's when I met Tessa, this perky fitness instructor who convinced me to join her classes. 3 months in, I started noticing changes. My clothes were looser, my face looked different in the mirror. People at work were commenting, and the more my body changed, the more my attitude did too. I felt powerful? Is that weird to say? Like I finally had control over something in my life. My depression started lifting, and I had more energy than I'd had in years. I was actually excited to get dressed in the morning, trying on clothes I'd never have worn before. Kevin noticed too. He'd watch me getting ready, this little smile on his face like he was proud of me. He started initiating sex more often, which was nice, but something felt different. I was different. I started going out more. Tessa invited me to these fitness group happy hours, and suddenly I had this whole new social circle, people who only knew the new me, not sad, chunky Caitlin who used to stress-eat a pint of ice cream after work. Men would buy me drinks. They'd flirt. And between us, I ate it up. Kevin started noticing that too, but not in the same proud way. We'd be at a mutual friend's place, and I'd catch him watching me talk to other guys. He never said anything at the time, but I could tell it bothered him. Did that stop me? Nope. If anything, it made me push boundaries more. Like, hello? I'm still the same person, just in a better package. You don't get to be jealous now. Home life started changing too. I was busy, you know? Gym in the morning, work all day, sometimes another class or happy hour after. Who had time to do dishes or laundry? Kevin started picking up my slack without complaining, but I could see the questions in his eyes. Where was I? Who was I with? Was I still the woman he married? There was this one night. God, I still remember exactly what I was wearing. We were at this work thing of mine. Owen was there. He was this consultant who'd been flirting with me for weeks. Nothing had happened, but I wanted it to. Kevin saw us talking. Owen's hand was on my lower back, and I didn't move away. I laughed too hard at his jokes. I touched his arm. Kevin just watched from across the room, this look on his face I'd never seen before. Not anger, something worse, disappointment. On the drive home, Kevin finally said something. What's going on with you and that guy? Nothing, I snapped. We work together. We're friends. Didn't look like just friends, he said quietly. Oh my God, are you seriously jealous? You're the one who wanted me to get in shape, remember? The words came out before I could stop them, and they weren't even true. Kevin never pressured me about my weight, ever. He just suggested the gym for my depression. After that night, things got tense. I started staying out later, not answering texts, coming home to find Kevin asleep on the couch, having waited up for me. I'd get annoyed when he asked where I'd been, like he was trying to control me. Looking back, he was just worried. But in my head, he was this ball and chain holding me back from my new life. I started scrolling through social media, comparing Kevin to other men. Why didn't he dress better? Why didn't he try harder? I had transformed myself, and there he was, the same old Kevin. I started to feel like I'd settled for him. That thought kept growing, getting louder in my head with every guy who slid into my DMs, with every compliment from strangers. When Kevin suggested we see a marriage counselor, I completely lost it. It was like he'd accused me of something terrible. "Maybe I've just realized I can do better than you," I told him. The look on his face, I'll never forget it, like I'd physically hit him. But I didn't stop. I kept going, saying all these horrible things about how I'd settled for him, how I was just with him because I didn't think I could get anyone else when I was heavier. I didn't mean any of it. Not really. I was just drunk on attention, I guess. Addicted to how good it felt to be desired. But in that moment, I convinced myself it was all true. And Kevin, he just listened, didn't even fight back. When I was done, he simply asked, "Is that really how you feel?" And God help me, I said yes. A week later, I filed for divorce. The look in Kevin's eyes when he was served the papers, I pretended not to care, but it haunted me at night. Still, I convinced myself this was my moment, my time to live the life I deserved. I moved out of our place immediately, found a cute little apartment downtown that I could barely afford. I wanted to start fresh, you know? New body, new home, new life. I blocked Kevin on everything except email, and I told him to only contact me through our lawyers. I was so cold about it, so businesslike. I remember him calling me like 20 times that first night. I didn't answer once. I was out with Tessa and some of the gym crew, celebrating my freedom. They didn't know the full story, just that I was leaving my marriage to find myself or whatever garbage I was spouting. Tessa kept buying me shots, telling me how brave I was. The worst part? I started believing it. Like I was this feminist hero for walking away from a perfectly good husband who loved me. I actually posted this cryptic quote on social media about outgrowing relationships, with a selfie of me looking thoughtful but sexy. Got like 200 likes. Kevin's friend Kyle texted me after seeing it, called me heartless. I blocked him too. During those first few weeks, I felt high on possibilities. I downloaded dating apps. I started talking to Owen more at work. I bought new furniture and posted new chapter photos. I changed my hair, got highlights, bought clothes I couldn't afford. I was creating this whole new identity as hot single Caitlin. Meanwhile, our divorce proceedings were moving forward, and I was making things difficult at every turn. I wanted half of everything, including Kevin's savings from before we were even married. My lawyer kept trying to rein me in, but I was out for blood. Owen asked me out properly about a month after I left Kevin. Our first date was at this trendy restaurant I always wanted to try, but Kevin thought was overpriced. Owen ordered expensive wine, complimented my dress, touched my leg under the table. It was exactly what I thought I wanted. We ended up at his place that night. The whole time with Owen, I kept making these mental comparisons to Kevin. Owen's apartment was sleeker. Owen's job was more impressive. Owen's body was more toned. But Owen didn't ask how I was sleeping. He didn't remember how I took my coffee. He didn't look at me the way Kevin did, like he could see all of me, not just the packaging. Still, I doubled down. I started posting photos with Owen within weeks. I knew mutual friends would see them and tell Kevin. I wanted him to know I had upgraded. I wanted it to hurt him like I was hurting, because despite all my bravado, there was this hollow feeling growing inside me that I refused to acknowledge. 3 months into our divorce process, I had a mandatory mediation meeting with Kevin. It was the first time I'd seen him in person since I left. I walked in with my hair done, wearing my most expensive outfit, ready to be cold and distant. But Kevin, he looked good, calm. He'd gotten a haircut, lost a little weight. He was polite to me, even smiled at the mediator's lame jokes. Meanwhile, I was a mess inside, hands shaking, voice tight. I expected him to fight me on everything, but he didn't. He agreed to most of my demands with this quiet dignity that made me feel small. At one point, his lawyer whispered something to him, and he shook his head and said, "No, it's fine. She can have it." They were talking about our wedding album, the one I'd demanded just to be spiteful, knowing he was the sentimental one who'd want it. After the meeting, I tried to talk to him in the parking lot. I had this sudden, desperate need to know he was hurting too. "So you're really okay with all this?" I asked. He looked at me for a long moment. "No, Caitlin, I'm not okay, but I'm going to be." Then he got in his car and drove away. No drama, no begging, no tears. and for some reason that devastated me more than anything else. That night, Owen canceled our plans last minute. Something about a work emergency. I sat alone in my expensive new apartment, scrolling through old photos of Kevin and me. There was this one from 3 years ago, at his parents' anniversary party. I was heavier then, wearing this blue dress I'd never fit into now. But the way we were looking at each other, like nothing else in the world mattered. I couldn't remember the last time I felt that way with Owen, or if I ever had. I called Owen, suddenly needing reassurance. He didn't pick up. I called again an hour later. Still nothing. I drove by his place, something I'm not proud of. There was another woman going into his building. She was gorgeous, model thin, younger than me. I watched them hug in the lobby before the elevator doors closed. I cried all the way home. Not because I loved Owen, I didn't, but because everything I thought I wanted was turning out to be so empty. The divorce was finalized faster than I expected. Kevin didn't contest anything in the end. At the final signing, his lawyer handed me an envelope along with the papers. "Kevin asked me to give you this," she said. Inside was a short note. "I hope you find what you're looking for. I really do." No anger. No bitterness. Just kindness I didn't deserve. I cried in my car for an hour afterward. Owen and I fizzled out a few weeks later, after I found out he was seeing 3 other women at the same time. "I thought we were casual," he said, looking genuinely confused when I confronted him. "You just got out of a marriage. Didn't think you wanted anything serious." The thing is, I didn't know what I wanted anymore. My new, dream life was nothing like I'd imagined. Dating was a nightmare. Just an endless parade of guys interested in my body, but not in me. My work suffered because I was distracted and emotional. Even the gym, which had been my sanctuary, didn't feel good anymore. Every time I went, I remembered how Kevin had been the one to encourage me to go in the first place. 6 months after our divorce was finalized, I heard through mutual friends that Kevin had moved to a new apartment, gotten a promotion, joined a hiking club. He sounded happy. Meanwhile, I was spending Friday nights alone, watching our old favorite shows, wondering where it all went wrong. That's when I decided to call him. I was desperate, lonely, full of regret. I hadn't planned what to say, so when he actually answered, I just started crying. Through sobs, I told him I'd made a huge mistake, that I missed him every day, that no one would ever love me like he had. There was a long silence on the other end. Finally, he spoke. "Caitlin," he said, his voice gentle but firm, "I'm sorry you're hurting, but there's no going back for us. Please," I begged. "Just meet me for coffee, just talk to me." "No," he said, "I needed to talk 6 months ago. You didn't want to then." After he hung up, I started texting him. First apologies, then reminiscing about good times, then long explanations about how I'd changed. When he didn't respond, I got angry, sending him accusatory messages about how he never really loved me if he could just throw everything away. His only response, after dozens of my messages, "Please stop contacting me, Caitlin. This isn't healthy for either of us." But I couldn't stop. I began messaging his friends, asking about him. I called his parents, who had always liked me. They were polite but distant. His mom said, "Kevin's doing well, dear. I think it's best if you let him move on." The sadness in her voice made it clear. I was no longer the daughter-in-law they had loved. I drove by our old apartment building once, then twice, then started making it part of my regular route home. I joined his hiking meetup group, showing up in new expensive gear, hoping to run into him. He never came to those meetups. Later I found out he'd left the group after the organizer warned him I had joined. I was becoming someone I didn't recognize. Desperate, obsessive, pathetic. But I couldn't stop. In my mind, if I could just get 5 minutes with Kevin, I could make him see that we belonged together, that I'd made a terrible mistake, that I was sorry. Then I heard Kevin had started dating someone. Kyle let it slip when I cornered him at a mutual friend's birthday party I wasn't technically invited to. "Look, Caitlin, you need to back off," Kyle said. "Kevin's finally happy again. He's seeing this really nice woman. Don't mess this up for him." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. Another woman? Already? It had only been 8 months since our divorce. Meanwhile, I had gone on dozens of first dates that went nowhere. The idea of Kevin with someone else made me physically ill. I found her on social media easily enough. Her name was Michelle. She was pretty in this natural, unpretentious way. Not as fit as me, not as polished, but her smile was genuine. There were photos of them hiking, their heads close together, looking at something off camera. She'd captioned it, "Best tour guide ever." I messaged her. I'm not proud of it. I told her I was Kevin's ex-wife and that we were working on reconciling, that he was confused and not over me yet. I suggested she back off if she didn't want to get hurt. She never responded. Instead, Kevin called me that night, angrier than I'd ever heard him. "Don't ever contact Michelle again," he said. "Don't come by my apartment, don't join my groups, don't ask my friends about me. It's over, Caitlin. It's been over for a long time." "She's not right for you," I said, my voice small. "You don't get to decide that anymore," he replied. "If you keep this up, I'll get a restraining order." The finality in his voice finally broke through. This wasn't a temporary separation. This wasn't a break we'd come back from. Kevin had moved on completely, and I was just the sad ex who couldn't let go. After that call, things got worse for me. Friends started avoiding me. Apparently, everyone knew about my desperate attempts to get Kevin back. Tessa, who had been my confidant during the divorce, stopped returning my calls after I drunk texted her one too many times about Kevin. I was drinking more, working less. My boss called me in for a performance discussion. I nearly lost my job. The gym, once my happy place, now felt like a mockery of everything I'd lost. I still looked good physically, but inside I was falling apart. One day, about a year after our divorce, I was at the grocery store when I saw them. Kevin and Michelle, shopping together, his arm around her waist as they debated what cereal to buy. They looked so comfortable together, so at ease. Kevin was laughing at something she said. I hadn't seen him laugh like that in years, even when we were happy. I ducked behind a display, watching them. They worked as a team, checking things off a shared list, discussing dinner plans. They looked like Kevin and I used to, before I got fit, before I got selfish, before I threw everything away. As they headed toward checkout, Michelle spotted me. She whispered something to Kevin, who tensed visibly. He looked over, met my eyes for a brief moment, then deliberately turned away, guiding Michelle to a different checkout line. It was a small gesture, but it said everything. He wouldn't even acknowledge me anymore. I was nothing to him now. I left my half-filled cart in the aisle and ran to my car, sobbing. That night I got drunk alone and sent Kevin one last long message, part apology, part accusation, part desperate plea. I poured out everything, how much I regretted leaving, how dating was terrible, how I'd realized too late what we had. The next morning, bleary-eyed and hungover, I saw he'd responded with just 2 sentences. "I forgive you, Caitlin. Please seek help and move on with your life." It wasn't what I wanted, but it was what I needed to hear. He forgave me, but he didn't want me back. He had found happiness without me, and I was still stuck, unable to move forward, trapped in the consequences of my choices. A few weeks later, I heard Kevin and Michelle had gotten engaged. The news came through a mutual friend who thought I would want to know. "Are you okay?" she asked carefully. "No," I admitted, but that's not Kevin's problem anymore. It was the first honest thing I'd said in a long time. I wish I could say I had some miraculous turnaround after that I found myself, found happiness, found someone new. But real life isn't that neat. I'm still alone, still regretting what I threw away, still fighting the urge to drive by his place or check Michelle's social media. Kevin's married now. I saw the wedding photos, not because I was invited, but because they were shared by mutual friends. He looked happier than I'd ever seen him. His parents, who once loved me like a daughter, beamed beside him. They had fully embraced Michelle, just as they had once embraced me. Meanwhile, my apartment feels emptier than ever. The dating apps on my phone sit unused. The body I worked so hard for, the body that I thought would bring me everything I wanted, just feels like a shell now. Sometimes I catch myself wondering if Kevin would want me back if I gained the weight again, as if that would somehow restore the person I used to be, the person he loved. My therapist says that's not how it works. Yes, I finally started therapy. Too late to save my marriage, but maybe not too late to save myself. She says I need to stop defining myself through Kevin's eyes, either the wanting or the rejecting. That I need to figure out who I am without him, or any man, validating my existence. It's hard work. Some days I still wake up reaching for him. Some days I still draft messages I'll never send, but slowly, I'm accepting that there are consequences to our choices that can't be undone. That sometimes, I'm sorry isn't enough. That people move on, and we have to let them. Kevin has his new life. A life that once included me but doesn't anymore. A life that by all accounts is happy and full. And in my darkest moments of honesty, I can admit that he deserves it. He deserves Michelle, who presumably loves him as he is, not as a backup plan or a safety net. And me? I'm not sure what I deserve, but I'm trying to build something new from the ashes of what I burned down. It's not the life I expected. It's harder and lonelier and more humbling than I ever imagined, but it's mine, with all its regrets and hard lessons. So here I am, still staring at my phone sometimes, still fighting the urge to reach out one more time. But the messages have stopped, the drive-bys have stopped, the social media stalking has mostly stopped. Not because I've healed completely, I haven't, but because I finally understand that you can't force someone to love you again, especially when you were the one who stopped loving them first. If I could go back and tell myself one thing, that version of me who is intoxicated with attention and new possibilities, I'd say this: the grass isn't greener on the other side, it's greener where you water it. But I can't go back. None of us can. We can only go forward, carrying our regrets, hoping to do better next time, if there is a next time. For now, I'm just trying to be okay on my own, to find value in myself that isn't tied to how I look or who wants me. Kevin has moved on, and someday, maybe I will too.